You look at yourself in the mirror and all you see are a million things you wish you could fix. I've been there, and it sucks.
I'm always so astounded by my ability to ruin everything, losing friends and starting fires.
Hey guys, welcome to my new series I'd like to call 3am Conversations, where we will be talking about mental health, life, and general 3am shenanigans. And on this episode, reasons you're insecure, most importantly, how to overcome it. Have you ever had days where you looked at yourself in the mirror and really wished you were someone else? Or at least a much better, less depressing version of who you currently are? If you've ever felt the same horrible self-loathing that makes you want to rip out your own soul, turn it into a piñata, and beat the living hell out of it, this is the place to be. I'm not an expert by any means, but when I was younger, I struggled with a lot of dumb personal insecurities. Insecurities that really affected how I felt about myself and the world. I could go on for hours about my shitty teenage experiences, but for now, I'm going to give you advice I wish I knew sooner when dealing with these insecurities. What causes our insecurities are individual. There are 6 broad factors I feel most people's self-esteem issues arise from, or are at least heavily affected by. The first 2 reasons, very obvious to some, but I feel still need to be addressed. Number 1, who you surround yourself with. You can't always control the people you're surrounded by. Family, school, work, but to a certain extent, you do decide who plays some of the larger roles in your life. They should be people who lift you up, people who push you to become a better version of yourself, people who celebrate your personal achievements, and people who you feel you don't have to hold a facade in front of. As hippie as it sounds, positive energy is contagious. People who spend less time being supportive of other people and more time gossiping, causing drama, and talking shit about others can definitely damage your self-esteem and hinder your desire for mental peace and clarity. Jim Rohn said we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And if you're spending your time with dickheads, then of course you're going to hate yourself. Because you'll be a combination of 5 dickheads. You'll be like a megazord of douchebaggery. If you feel like there's no one currently that gives you that uplifting attitude, you will have to get out of your comfort zone. Try and make friends outside of your current circles, like joining clubs or attending new events. And if you can't find new friends straight away, that's okay. Finding people that are good for you can be hard to come by. Which is why I don't have a whole lot of close friends. Totally not because I'm super weird or anything, but I truly mean it when I say it is honestly better to be alone than to be surrounded with the wrong people. If you hate being alone, trust me, being surrounded by the wrong people is much, much lonelier. Spending time alone gave me a lot more peace and clarity than when I was spending time with the wrong crowd, or at least people with differing values than me. If you struggle to find the right people, work on yourself. Become someone you love and admire, and similar people will be naturally drawn towards you. Now the second obvious reason, how you view social media. It's a bit obvious, but do not compare yourself to what you see on those platforms. One of the biggest reasons I was insecure was comparing myself to these successful people. Let me tell you a story. It's going to sound random at first, but trust me, it'll come back full circle. In World War II, a statistician, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but a guy who did statistics named Abraham Wald was hired to figure out where to put extra armor on army aircrafts. Now he observed the planes that came back from war and they looked like this. Now the military was wondering, where are we going to add extra armor to these aircrafts? The straightforward answer the military thought of is where the planes were shot at the most, which appears to make the most sense. But in reality, the best places to put armor are the places that were left intact, because these particular planes got shot at in these areas bazillion times and still managed to be in good enough shape to get back home safely. The reason why you didn't get a lot of planes back that were shot at in these intact areas is probably because they were vital parts of the plane that, if shot at, would cause pilots to crash and die. So those were in fact the most important areas that needed the most protection. Okay, cool story, Nathan. What does it have to do with self-esteem and social media? What I'm trying to introduce here is a concept called survivorship bias, where we make seemingly logical but terrible assumptions about people who survived a selection process. Back then, it was getting shot down by Nazis, but in our context, the selection process I'm talking about is getting on the front page of social media. You see everyone on your Instagram page being incredibly attractive and living picturesque lifestyles. Now, is this because everyone in the world has abs that look as chiseled as a Lego brick? No, it's because if you don't have Lego brick abs, you don't make it to the front page of Instagram. It is statistically proven that about 70% of Australians and Americans are overweight, and that almost all of us are a lot less happier than we show on Instagram, because social media is a highlight reel of our lives. Most people are not going to post the ugly moments of their life on there, because posting the highlights gives them admiration. And admiration equals validation. That temporarily band-aids the fact that inside, we don't feel anywhere near as happy or blissful as what we lead others to believe. So don't think you're behind the curve, or you should be more ahead in life, or I should have accomplished more things by my age. Trying your best to improve, no matter the outcome, should always be something to be proud of. Number 3. Patterns of misfortune in your past that now make you blame yourself for things you really shouldn't be blaming yourself for. This video is going to be really long if I detail all my personal experiences, but let's just say, as a kid, I was used to being a letdown and feeling like a burden to others. And humans, being creatures of habits, it became habit for me to just blame myself for ridiculous things that weren't even my fault. One prominent example in my life that I can give is that up until the 11th grade, every close friend I ever made in life, I either parted ways with very shortly after, or if they stayed, they would end up considering suicide or showing suicidal thoughts and tendencies. Not because of me, but life. And my messed up thought process concluded that I was cursed and that I was the reason for that, when in reality, it's because suicide is an issue you only ever see with people when you're close to them. Correlation does not equal causation. Here is a graph of ice cream sales and people drowning. Now, there is a correlation, but does that mean ice cream is secretly a serial killer that drowns people? No, it would be a great conspiracy though. But it's most likely people order ice cream and swim more at the same time. Summer. So correlation does not necessarily mean causation. Same way where you having a rough year or decade does not mean you are a curse. Life is just an asshole sometimes, and you need to consciously try and get out of the habit of blaming yourself for everything that goes south. Number 4. Not prioritizing your mental health and finding a healthy way to vent. This may seem very obvious for some people, but for many it is also a completely alien concept, especially since you probably don't like yourself very much right now if you are watching this video. We aren't very inclined to take good care of people we don't like, even if that person is ourselves. And when we don't prioritize our mental health, we sweep things under the rug, and some things that irk you or put you down may seem fine to cope with at first, but the weight only gets heavier as time goes by. If someone gives me this glass of water to hold, it's fine. I can hold it. 10 seconds? Easy. A minute? Doable. Ask me to hold it for years on end and it will definitely spill. My personal preference with venting is talking to someone you trust. It helps lift the weight off your shoulders, and sometimes you need someone to lift you up when you're low, or someone to tell you basic shit like it's okay to be sad and you're not broken for breaking down and asking for help. That's human. You need a friend who'll give you a clear perspective when you're emotional and not thinking clearly. Or preferably a network, because trauma dumping can be a lot to handle for one person. Reach out as soon as you're not feeling well, because the more you let negative feelings grow inside of you, the harder it will be for the people around you to help you, and harder for you to overcome in the future. The reason you're depressed and insecure will constantly get harder to pin down, and you'll feel more and more like these negative feelings are just a part of you when they're really not, and that will make you hate yourself. So I can't stress this enough. Reach out when you're feeling low. Don't wait till you explode. Reason number 5, not prioritizing your personal growth, not working on developing who you are. If you want something in life, you have to work for it, and that includes confidence. There's a quote by Alex Hormozy: "You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are." Outwork your self-doubt. If you're insecure that you have no admirable qualities about yourself, work on attaining those admirable qualities. Act like someone you would admire. If you admire people who are outgoing, challenge yourself and practice getting out of your comfort zone. If you admire people who are more fit and athletic, prioritize your physical health and stay dedicated to exercise. Real, genuine dedication can get you farther than you realize. For example, before I started exercising, I was 50 kilos, weakest kid in school, and was the worst at every single sport I played. I struggled to even cut my nails because even something as simple as pressing down on a nail clipper was a lot of effort for me. And in 2020, I spent an entire year and a half exercising every day, not skipping a single day, and slowly went from this to this within 15 months. I also wasn't smart in high school. I was getting C's in math and English on my reports up until I started trying my best in year 11. And in a year and a half, I managed to go from barely passing to a year later becoming the top 4% of the state in my graduating year. Now I know these aren't the most groundbreaking achievements, but for me, someone who was completely talentless, nowhere near above average, and full of self-doubt, these were achievements I never even considered possible until I gave them my best effort, because I got stuck in the mindset a lot of us fall into, believing that we're either good or bad at something, and if we're not good at it to begin with, you might as well not even start. If you admire people with other certain skills, even if you're not initially good at it, put in the work, because hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. If you keep putting in that self-work and making your self-growth a priority, not only will your opinion of yourself start to change, but your vulnerability to other people's opinions will also diminish. Only when you do not know yourself do the opinions of others become important. Quote by Sadhguru: "Because as I said, if you work on building that proof and that reputation with yourself, when you are confident in who you are, knowing you put in the work to make yourself someone great, someone that stands out, people's opinions are going to matter less. You're not going to be as affected by people who you know don't put in half the work you do when it comes to self-improvement. So don't waste what precious time you have people-pleasing, looking for validation, and fawning over others. Stop looking for people with gardens greener than yours, and work on watering your own little garden, because the grass is greener where you water it. And the harsh truth is, no one's guaranteed to stay in your life forever, but you. You are stuck with yourself no matter what. So it's important to spend time working on becoming someone you actually like. And finally, Reason number 6. Basing your self-worth on what others want or what you think others want. This one I am still guilty of, if I'm being honest. I initially started YouTube in hopes of doing something cool or mildly exciting one day. And at first, I tried making comedy videos, not because I particularly wanted to, but more so because I thought that was more palatable to people on YouTube. When in reality, I posted 2 videos, one of which I removed from my channel because it made me cringe, and I realized I'm not that guy. I'm not the funniest guy. My personality is a little emo, and sometimes overly sentimental, and even though it's not everyone's cup of tea, I'm okay with that. Because at the end of the day, there are so many people in this world, all of which are so diverse with varying taste, and trying to make yourself more likable to one group will always make yourself more unlikable to another group of people. And trying to please everybody is nothing short of an impossible task. And if you are going to be loved by certain people and hated by certain people, no matter who you are or how you decide to act, I believe it is better to be loved for who you truly are. And if I had to be hated, I'd rather be hated for what I stand for instead of a fake persona. As long as you aren't a complete asshole to other people, statistically, there are an insane amount of people in this world who adore you for who you are. So don't calculate your self-worth based on one person or a group of kids at school or whoever tries to belittle you. Their opinions of you are so insignificant in the grand scheme that is the world. There are already people who love you for who you are that are just dying to meet you. And yeah, that's my tips. Final message though, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't think you're worthless and don't deserve anything in life if you don't have qualities like being super pretty or social. As cheesy as it sounds, the most important thing is just trying to be a decent human being. Not just to others, but to yourself. If you're decently kind, you honestly deserve so much more than 80% of people in this world. Because there are a lot of assholes out there. And you have to remember to always tell yourself that. And tell yourself positive things. And always try your best to act like you believe in it, even when you don't. Because faking it till you make it actually helps your mind. Your brain is not that different from your body. And you can't get a healthy body if you're feeding it junk food. The same way you can't get a healthy mind by feeding it terrible thoughts. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you've learned something. And leave a like if you enjoyed this chill hangout session. And leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. And I hope you have an incredible day.